Should you freak out if your pumpkin plants look like this? With droopy leaves? Well, the answer is no. My name's Rebecca and I'm an organic gardener here in Central Virginia. And I do love to grow pumpkins. And so I'm just going to show you around my pumpkin patch. It is now the third week, almost the end of August, and I've got lots and lots of pumpkins growing. I mainly grow pumpkins that are for eating, not the big field pumpkins for Halloween. This year I'm growing two kinds of pumpkins. I'm growing something called the Tan Cheese pumpkin, and I'm growing another one of my favorites called a Seminole pumpkin. Both are great keeping pumpkins and both are great for pies and eating, which is what I like to do with them. So pumpkins take up a lot of room. I'll show you what I mean in just a second, and then we'll talk about those wilting leaves. We'll also talk about other things that will probably happen to your pumpkins if you're growing organically, not using pesticides like me. So why are my pumpkin leaves drooping like this? Well, it is the middle of the day here, and it's August. And so these pumpkins are simply protecting themselves. This is what they do, and you don't have to worry about it. I know one of your temptations might be just to go and pour water on it, give them a good water, but they don't need that. In fact, they had a really beautiful watering yesterday, followed by more rain, a big rainstorm in the evening. So come evening time, when the sun goes behind, gets lower in the sky, these leaves will perk right up. It's something really quite interesting about pumpkins. These are my Tan Cheese pumpkins. This is a pretty massive planting. I'll go in to the center so you can see where the plant actually starts, but it's growing everywhere here. Now here are some of the older original parts of the plant. You can see peeking down there, sort of in the middle of the frame, is a pumpkin hiding underneath those leaves. Now, why are these yellowed and gnarly up? That is squash bug damage. And I do try to get into my plants and find the squash bugs and kill them as often as I can. All right, so as far as squash bugs go, squash bugs are a huge menace on any kind of pumpkin, squash, or member of that family. I do check every single day, every single leaf, for squash bug eggs and squash bugs, and I squash the little nymphs when I see them, and I get rid of the eggs when I see them. However, a pumpkin patch is just far too big to check pumpkins that are growing over this large space with this many leaves. I check them early in the growing season as the plants are relatively small. Once they start spreading and going everywhere, then I kind of leave them be. I'll check and spot check, but you just can't keep up with it. Now, pumpkins have a nice, unique ability. Where their stems touch the ground and where there's a leaf, it will put out these secondary roots, and that helps the plant draw nutrition in and keep that part of the plant alive and well. So I don't worry too much about it. So I'll show you a few more of my pumpkins, and we can look around the patch a bit more, and I'll show you how they are growing along now at the end of August. These won't be ready to pick until later in September and early October. When you are growing pumpkins, the leaves get huge and they just take a lot of room. Here are the secondary roots that you see coming out right here. And this is just a crazy part of my garden. This is not anything planned right here. These are wild, self-sown cherry tomatoes, and they are growing all over the place into this huge thicket. And I'm just letting them, in part because this area is unfenced and it's near the wood, which means the deer love to lurk about. So one of the nice things about having this volunteer tomato patch is that it's going to help to keep, I think, the deer away, because they can't see over this and they're not likely to eat tomatoes. Unless they're really desperate. But you can see that the plants have grown from inside, over and through, and down and outside of this patch. These are two different plants that have grown. And here is a little Seminole pumpkin. It's going to grow a little bit more. This one is just getting started, and they make perfect pie pumpkins. Here's an itty bitty baby pumpkin about to form. If that blossom opens up and gets pollinated, indeed we shall have pumpkins. Thank you so much for watching. I hope your garden's growing well. Take care.